But Mihir Sharma, we've been struggling over the last 5 years to kickstart private investment. In the midst of all of this, you go and increase corporate taxes even further. That's the surest way of telling corporates who are already spending a lot of their money outside India that that's where you should be looking, not inside the country.
I think that's the reason that, look.
And Rahul, are these tax breaks new? Did they start in 2014? Or have they been continuing for the last 10 years?
You are committed for 7-10 years. You can't just break off and
say that I think all this revenue foregone stuff is a red herring. The truth is that if you're going to be giving this much money away, the fiscal deficit is going to go up. And frankly, I feel that the Congress would just stand up and say, yes, it's going to go up, we don't care.
And also,
that's
as far as throwing Modi out of office and coming back to power is concerned, they seriously don't care.
That said, Rahul, the fear normally with the fiscal deficit going up is that it will constrict private investment taking off. The problem is that these guys, under the current government, private investment is not taken off anyway because they've been overspending, they've been over-borrowing. So frankly, either way, there's no argument to be made. The Congress should stand up and say, we'll spend more. And the Modi government should stand up and say, we don't mind spending more also as long as we are not borrowing.
And also to the point that core subsidies will be kept and some subsidies can be subsumed is a myth. Because if you look at the history of India, since 2008, not one government has had the political capital to reduce subsidies. 70,000 crore was the subsidy we were paying in 2008. Next year will be 7 lakh crore if Mr. Salman Sose's party comes to power. 10 times the subsidy burden.
I agree with that.
So who has had the political capital to reduce subsidies that you will?
No, my argument here is twofold.
The argument should be looked at from the point of revenue. In terms of revenue, India is one of the lowest tax GDP ratio in the world, including developing countries. Our direct tax ratio is one of the lowest at about 6% of GDP, you know. So our capacity to raise, and given the inequality and given the wealth disparity, there is a lot of capacity for the well-off sections, just the top 5% or top even 1%. As the data shows, we can raise.
And I want to go across to Juan Guruswamy because he's outside the studio, but I want to give an equal opportunity to Mr. Guruswamy. At a time when the Congress is not even willing to commit on which are the subsidies they consider non-core and are willing to cut back on, you can't just say, we will do it, believe in us, we've consulted economists, we'll find the money.
Exactly.
There are hard choices to be made. Without explaining what are the hard decisions you will take, how can there be any credibility to the belief that they'll find this 3.6 lakh crore rupees?
I think, you know, people have already said by putting 2% additional tax on the rich, the people who pay declared incomes of, you know, who have wealth of about 2.5 crores, you will recover that kind of money. There are many ways you get this money, but you must first exhibit the will for it. The fact that they didn't do the homework, maybe they don't have the data, is something else. But should it be done? Can it be done? That's what I say, yes, it can be done, it should be done. It's time it should be done. Why did the government put it in its economic survey in 2016-17, saying that it should be given?
I want to take up right now the one question that really is in everyone's mind. Forget where they find the money from after the elections. Can this promise of Rahul Gandhi playing Santa Claus help the opposition win this election and oust Prime Minister Modi from power? Is that something, PN Vijay, that is now beginning to bother the BJP, that this is generating some traction? You've been focusing on national security. Rahul Gandhi says, I'll get the money, forget where I get the money from, I did Manrega, it's my party that gave you the farm loan waiver, hum laenge paisa, kahin se bhi laenge?
Frankly, Rahul, not at all. We did, if you ask me a direct question, we did a lot of field studies, and we have identified that there are 3 or 4 issues, according to us, which are going to influence voters. And to our judgment, the first is the quality of leadership, Mr. Modi versus Mr. Rahul Gandhi, whether people have the confidence that Mr. Modi can lead this country or Mr. Rahul Gandhi can lead this country. The second is a genuine concern about national security. The third is jobs. People are worried about jobs. So these, in our view, are the top 3 we have found in the right order. Now, I will admit.
No, but when you did this survey, Rahul Gandhi hadn't promised.
I will admit that Rahul Gandhi has managed to take a lot of TV space with his pronouncement. When you make something so bombastic, you are bound to, and we are a democracy, and we respect that. So people like you are holding a lot of programs to tell the public, is it possible to do it? You're doing your job. Now, I think these things have a time to play out. When you make such a big announcement, people will take it seriously. Your TRPs may go up by 3-4% also. I mean, I don't mind. But I have enough confidence in the Indian electorate that they will see through this, I would say, crazy game of the Congress and get back to real issues. I would again say...
Mihir Sharma, cynically speaking, the person to whom this money is hypothetically going to come doesn't care where the economists on this table find the money from. If the money lands up in his bank, he'll be happy.
Yeah.
Can this promise, to what extent can it change the dynamics in this election?
Look, Rahul, this is inevitable. All right, the moment you put into place the plumbing, the architecture that allowed you to have direct transfers, somebody was going to start offering direct transfers. This is predictable the moment that Aadhaar came into play. This is predictable the moment that you started putting people into bank accounts. Somebody was going to start offering direct income transfers. All right. Now, the Congress happened to be the first person. I can guarantee you, I can put it in writing, by 2024, by the next election, the BJP will be also offering direct income transfers, perhaps more than the Congress. All right. This is how politics works in this country, and this is how politics is
But you're
always going to
assuming
work.
that they'll wait till the next election.
That's also
because
true.
when the farm loan waiver promise was made
They
in
indicated
Uttar
that they-
Pradesh, within a few weeks after initially opposing it, the BJP also made that promise. So could that happen? That's something we look at separately. Rajiv Dubey, your sense of whether this can change the dynamics at play in this election.
No, it's a phenomenal narrative to take to the population. It's a phenomenal, because in the rural belt, especially the poor, it's more important for them to understand how much money will eventually come into my bank account, and if they have actually been getting the 2,000 rupees every quarter, then they are assured that 72,000 rupees a year can also come into their bank account, and so they are more likely to be inclined to go with a narrative like that.
My take would be that, look, this is election season, everybody is promising. Even in the interim budget, 75,000 crores was promised, plus, unorganized sector, etc. So everybody is going to do that, The real question is, globally also, we are talking about a universal basic income. Finland is implementing it.
So have you seen Finland and the size of Finland and the complexity of rolling out a scheme like this in Finland vis-a-vis India?
Everybody is talking about it, and you had Warren Buffett say 6 years back that I am paying less tax as a percentage than my secretary, so rich should pay more taxes.
But that's not the case in India.
No, this is a global thing, because everywhere you find that the disparities have increased, demand has fallen, and that's why it's happening. So in a sense, in India also, because the disparities have increased, demand has fallen, and that's why capacity
Sanjeev
utilizations has fallen.
Ahluwalia, are you
And that's
concerned
the
that this
problem.
could put us on a populist spiral? To be fair to the Modi government, financially they've been reasonably prudent. They haven't been as reckless and irresponsible as some governments we've seen in the past. Could this push the BJP also towards coming up with such grandiose promises?
No, you can rest assured that the BJP is not somebody who is just going to take such a strategy lying down. They will be coming out with a counter strategy, and it will be as explosive
Congress
as
ka NYAY, BJP ka NYAY, there will be something
Counter
about
offer, counter offer.
But
Counter-bid.
what I want to say is, what I just wanted to add,
No, 1 second. This is a real concern. Let's not take this as a joke, because when, for example, the AIADMK promised a TV, I remember the DMK made a promise of a bigger TV. When one party in Tamil Nadu promised a certain kind of sari, the opposition party promised a fancier kind of sari. So this is a real problem in populist
and
elections.
there is gunjaish, as they say in the budget, as was pointed out just now by Nirupama, that there is a lot of gunjaish in the budget, but you have to take a decision. Are you going to rely on public investment? Who's bothered about public investment? It's only the guys who make money out of public investment.
No, everybody benefits from it. In a very, when there are new roads built, you can get to Meerut in 40 minutes.
I want to say one thing.
Mr. Vijay, so just a moment. The simple fact is that maybe in the 2000s, you could have gone to the voters and said, guys, look, if you are fiscally restrained, if you invest in growth, if you invest in public spending, everything is going to improve. Things are going to improve for everyone. But the fact is, for the past 7 to 9 years, you've had all this good behavior, you've had a reduction in the fiscal deficit, and you've had public investment.
No jobs.
No jobs. How are you going to
Can this help
that
the
this is good
opposition
for them?
do better in the election than they would have done
I'll tell you,
otherwise?
it's a very simple thing. If we're talking about relaxing your fisc, I'm saying use the same logic that we're using to discuss how you're going to raise your 3.6 lakh crores. I'm saying use the same logic and increase your defense spending. It's half the money to get to your 3%. Why are we not doing
defense
that?
spending?
No, I'm saying use the same logic and raise the money to increase your defense spending from 1.5 to 3%, which has been an equally hot topic of debate. But we haven't used the same one.
I want to say one thing.
No. I'm saying the logic. Let me explain. Your defense spending currently is at 1.5%. Everyone's been screaming for a while saying we spend too little. Increase it to 3%.
Including the Congress Party.
Yes. Now, 1.5% to 3% is about 1.6 lakh crores, which is about half of what you need to raise for this. If you wanted to, well, you could do the same things. You can tax the rich. You can actually let your fisc go. You can do all of that, and you could have raised the money. But we haven't done that. And every time this debate came, exactly, every time we debate this, someone said not a good idea.
Like I said, just one moment. Like I said, what you will earn tomorrow, you are already pre-committed into spending. In terms of interest you will pay on the 90 lakh crore of debt you have, in terms of salaries of employees of the government.
These are committed.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you do not have
because we've got guests outside the studio also. Devendra Sharma, can this idea help the opposition do much better than it would have done without the promise of a minimum income guarantee?
Well, Rahul, I think we need to understand that according to the Economic Survey 2016, the per family income in 17 states of India, which is half the country, is 20,000 rupees a year, which means less than 1,700 rupees a month. I don't even know how these people survive in 1,700 rupees a month. But this is the reality which Economic Survey 2016 has projected. I think these are the people who are desperately looking for some hand-holding. And if anything that comes into account, obviously, they would be keenly looking forward to it. The ruling party started with PM Kisan. I have always been a supporter of PM Kisan also. And my argument is, yes, PM Kisan, although the amount is small, but of course, I'm sure it will grow at some stage. But that was a good shift from price policy to income policy. Today we need to provide income into the hands of the poor, and I'm sure the ruling party had started first, and the opposition has taken it on, and this is the way forward. We have to now provide direct income support. The world is discussing living income, and I believe this is the way forward.
It's Modi who's been dominating the narrative all the way. The Congress is on the mat, against the ropes. They're staring at imminent defeat. Therefore, they're making extravagant promises in the hope that they can rob the bank to pay the poor.
I mean, just look at Mr. Modi's rally yesterday with empty chairs in Meerut, and you'll get a sense of where things are right now. But let me just say one thing. Let's get this back to economics.
Are you saying Rahul Gandhi's rallies are getting bigger crowds than Modi's rallies? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just telling you what Modi's rallies are looking like right now. Look at what he's
are Rahul Gandhi's rallies looking bigger?
He's getting into Shara. I think he's on the way down right now. So, wait a second. On the economics of it, I just want us to take a step back a bit, right? What are we talking about? We're talking about the following. 2016, the Asian Development Bank does a social protection indicators report. It ranks 35 countries, Asian countries, and says who's spending what on social protection. India is ranked 24th out of 35 countries, even countries like Nepal and Pakistan are about. We're not spending enough. Then, you have 2 failed monsoons in this country. When Mr. Modi takes over, not his fault, I agree.
Thank God.
But then they follow a contractionary MSP policy, then they do demonetization, then they do GST. Who is disproportionately hurt by these policies? These poor people. We need to help these people because it is not their fault.
Nobody's
that
questioning that.
Nobody's
questioning that we have to income distribution. Nobody's questioning.
Let me now say.
No, but you're making an election speech in an economist roundtable.
Nobody's questioning the fact that you have to do something for the 29% of our population.
But
the question is where will you get the money from?
Yes, I'm just saying that we just discussed around this table, and we just discussed that there are revenue opportunities and there are expenditure cut opportunities. Everything is on the table, except there will be no middle class tax increase.
You know, Rahul,
expenditure cut is exactly
he
what
knows
we
that the
talked about.
Ambanis and the Adanis of the world are not voting for him in any case. He says, your
But
vote
yeah,
you
why
keep.
should the
Let me
Adanis,
get everybody
why
else's
should the
vote.
Adanis, why should the Adanis vote for us?
Rahul,
Yesterday there was a
yesterday-
relaxation of norms for Adani, 6 out of 6 ventures.
Rahul,
Come
I
on.
want to say one thing.
Why
Yesterday
we
in a
don't want
speech
Mr.
by-
Adani's vote.
in a- the
He can be
biggest-
with Mr. Modi.
Salman ji,
Mr. Modi,
एक
Mr.
minute,
Modi and
allow
Adani,
others
they
to
can
talk.
form the
Salman,
partnership.
allow. Yesterday in a speech by Rahul Gandhi, he said all these angel taxes, everything, मैं निकाल दूंगा. The biggest tax breaks in India to the corporate sector, which Mr. Salman has suddenly taken a dislike. Salman Soos has taken, who have been the best friends of the Congress party and the Nehru family for a long time. Now, the biggest tax incentives are coming for startups and for foreign direct investment. That's the fact.
Which is not a bad thing.
Which is not a bad thing, which is creating jobs. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi himself has said, I don't want to touch that. I'm against angel taxation. So what his spokesperson are saying is against what he is himself saying.
No, actually,
are you going to tax
then you've not
Flipkart?
understood
Are you
what
going
he
to tax
said.
which are really giving the jobs? The only jobs are coming from the startups.
Mr. Vijay, then you've not understood what he said, because Mr. Gandhi's micro, small and medium enterprise proposal is going to transform this country.
He makes so many proposals every day, we don't know what to transform.
The regulatory forbearance in
But
that
he is
proposal
never-
is going to
He
dramatically
has never
transform
said
this
he's going to
country.
tax
Arun Kumar.
startups.
I think that
And
the
startups
real-
are
That's
the
how
ones
you
who are
create
getting the
jobs,
biggest
by the
The
way.
real
incentive.
issue is not fiscal
Startups are the
deficit
ones who
or
are getting the biggest
resources. The real
incentive
issue
in
is
this country.
identification. How do you identify these 5 crore people? That's the first point. Second is that the amount of money that's being pitched is very high. It's much higher than the poverty line. So you'll have many more than 20%. So therefore, it will not be 3.6 lakh crore. It will probably be twice 3.6 lakh crore. But I think, as Chidambaram has already said, we'll go by stages.
Yes.
We'll not implement it immediately. We'll do a pilot scheme, and then after the pilot scheme, implement it over 4 years. And in the meanwhile, the GDP will grow. Therefore, we'll be managing it. So I think the proposal has to be looked at as Chidambaram has presented
Manrega was
it,
done like
whether
that.
that's a feasible proposal or not. And the numbers have to be looked at very carefully. How do you identify, and how many people will you give it to? That's the
No, but
important thing.
I know on good authority that the government is finding it difficult to identify the 1 crore farmers in a state like Uttar Pradesh who had to be given this Kisan direct transfer. They're having serious trouble trying to identify the farmers, and therefore the possibility of leakage, even though you've got the JAM trilogy at play, the possibility of leakage is immense. There's a lot of money going down the drain.
Not just that, a lot of the income may actually move to your informal sector, because everyone who would want to actually be part of this. So people who are borderline on 12, I don't know if it would happen, but the chances that people who are borderline on the 12,000 a month limit, they start under-reporting as well.
I'm sorry,
And
there
also
are
remember,
I'm just-
remember
I'm saying it's a
that
possibility.
this data that we are going to be relying on is almost a decade old.
Also,
SECC 11
exactly.
is almost a decade
But
old.
that's why we want
So
the
where
government
will
to
you
provide
be?
some data,
So you'll
right?
have to. Nobody has the data. If you had the data, you would have been
Whatever
able to do
data
it.
we have, Modi government doesn't want it to come out. Come on. I mean, let's face it. I mean, whatever
Okay,
data
final
we
one
have-
very quickly, gentlemen.
Just one more point I wanted to add, and this is mostly so that Salman can take it back to Congress headquarters, that if you're really concerned about the poor, this magical number of 20% has come up from somewhere.
Tendulkar
But if
Committee
you
report.
but if you look at the latest 2018 UNDP, multi-dimensional index of poverty,
Much less.
what it clearly says is 47% of India is either poor or is vulnerable to poverty, and they cannot be distinguished. I am poor today, I just go
It's a
above the
very
line,
funny
day after,
Very
I have a economic shock, I lose a job, I come back as being poor. So if you have to do something, please do something for the full 47%, not for 20, because how will you ever identify 20?
So instead of 3.6
Exactly.
lakh crore rupees,
What is
It'll
it?
be- it'll be-
Why not?
The simple fact here
No, I
is...
mean, if it's a political thing, then the magnitude is much bigger.
What Sanjeev is saying is correct. The basic fact here is that the reason this has seized hold of a narrative, and it's not going to let go, I think, for much of this election, is because it is an obvious solution to many of the problems. It is an obvious promise for politicians to make, and now it's up to the rest of us to figure out how it's going to be affordable.
No,
All
I'm
right?
sorry. I don't agree with that.
tragedy is-
It's the job of the
tragedy is 2
person
years from now,
who
Rahul,
says
we
he
are
will
going to
play
be saying
Santa
this.
Claus, to whom the question must be asked, Santa Claus, where will you get the gifts from? You can't say, we won't increase taxes, we won't cut subsidies, and yet somehow magically we'll find the 3.6 lakh crore rupees. That just doesn't add up. Salman Soz and the Congress need to come up with more convincing answers about where they'll find the money from. That said, that this is a politically potent idea and that the poor don't particularly care where Salman finds the money from as long as he gives the money to them is also true. The BJP needs to come up with an alternative. Will it come up with MIG Namo? We don't know. As of now, the government is convinced there is no need for that. But the farm loan waiver promise that was made by Rahul Gandhi was very quickly copied. Could we be heading towards a populism spiral? We are in election season, and as far as elections are concerned, economics is always in silly season in the middle of an election campaign. I want to thank all the guests who joined us for this Economists Roundtable. Thank you very much. Some very, very sharp insights. I'm not sure we have the answers, but I'm not certain that the Congress does either.